Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Alright, you ungovernable misfits. I'm your host, Max. Everybody knows that Bitcoin is useless, worthless, and doomed to fail. But what if everyone's wrong? What if it's the system that is doomed to fail? Join me as I speak to some of the brightest people in the space and slither to the deepest, darkest depths of the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Welcome back to another day of Barnminer month. Today's guest is Barnminer, and it was awesome catching up with him. We recorded this about a month ago, and I'm just doing the intro now. It was really good to listen back, and this guy's just doing so many incredible things, as are so many of the people involved in this Barnminer month. I really am blown away with the caliber of people who have joined us and are helping with this month. To everyone who's been entering the competitions, streaming sats, leaving reviews, sharing with friends, and everything else you've been doing, I really do appreciate it. It helps more people find this content, it gets them away from the scams and the NFTs and the bullshit and the price charts, and helps them understand, hopefully, what really matters. So thank you for everyone who's been doing that. And today, as with every day in Barnminer month, we are going to be having a giveaway. Make sure to get onto Twitter and onto ungovernablemisfits.com to find out more info. And for anyone who has any questions about the previous episodes or this one, they want some information, we have a team of mining wizards on hand, so please do get them in and we'll answer as much as we can and help in any way we can. I also want to thank Foundation Devices for sponsoring this show and also sponsoring this month. We're going to have Bitcoin Q&A and Lily on the show very soon. So if you have any questions about Foundation Passport, please do get them in and we will get them answered on the show. We're also going to be having 2 giveaways of Foundation Devices passports, so make sure to look out for that. Do not miss that. These devices are absolutely incredible. If you just can't wait and you want to buy one of these now, you can on foundationdevices.com and you can get an additional $10 off if you use the code BITBYBIT. If you haven't checked it out, go to foundationdevices.com, and if you have any questions at all, you can ask me or the team. I'd also like to thank Fast Bitcoins. They are an exchange based in the Isle of Man and they have an awesome team. This team is so cool that they allow me to do this pleb mining month, allow me to talk shit about KYC and be as honest and open as possible. They really do care about Bitcoin and they will do everything that they can to keep you safe if you do decide to use a KYC service. If you have any questions about the trade-offs with KYC versus non-KYC, you can reach out to me. And if you are going to go that route, I really can only suggest these guys. Go to fastbitcoins.com. Hey mate, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It looks like I lucked out. It's got my earbuds and the Yeti working. That's what it said anyway.
Yeah, you're coming through. You're sounding good. This makes a change. This is nice. Less editing for me.
Yeah, perfect. I came to my office because it was quiet, and then as soon as I pull up, they're mowing, and you hear the guy with the weed whacker come by the window. So go figure.
It's always the way, isn't it? Someone's always mowing or building.
Yeah, you're in construction or something.
Well, you should be used to the noise now with the mining you've been doing, with these things whirring away, deafening you.
Yeah, definitely. We got most of the stuff moved to the outbuilding, to the barn, which is nice, but I had some extra capacity in the garage, so why not? So that thing just runs all day, all night, and you can hear it humming. I'm going to be glad when I get to move it out, though. It's a little loud.
How many are you running now?
So I have 7. I'm completely maxed out. no pun intended, on my residential electricity. But I got about running about 100 amps. I have 200 amps worth of service to the house, so about half of that goes towards mining. So I'm in the works with the power company to get another 400 amps, which would give me. I'll have to disconnect what's in the barn and reconnect a new service. So it'll give me about probably 20 is what I'm shooting for. That's the end game.
Cool. And what do you run? Do you run Bitmain or do you run the Watts miners?
I have both. I guess I started with a Barnminer, and I figured I'd try them all, or not try all of them, but just try the two main ones. And I think I've got three S19J Pros, and then four Barnminers right now. I think I'm sold on the Barnminers.
Yeah, it seems to be the general consensus is like people say they're a bit more expensive. You can't update the firmware yet, but that they're bulletproof, and that's what you want is the reliability.
I like them. I mean, a lot of guys do. A lot of guys that I know that have larger farms. I call them mini farms, but they're still big, like 1 megawatts. They run the S19s, but they're a lot more efficient. But it seems like they're tinkering with them a lot more. That's for sure.
I guess if you have like a massive warehouse and you've got engineers on site, then maybe it's not so much for a problem because, having one engineer there, if you've got thousands of the things and okay, these are the things that go wrong with them and we've got the spare parts, etc., then it's fine. But I think like if you're doing more of a pleb mining sort of thing, you probably don't want to spend your whole time fixing stuff.
Yeah, if you're a tinkerer, I think that's fun because you can put the brains or you can put some firmware on it to tweak them, but it takes a lot of work. It's a lot of tinkering, and if you're busy, I think kind of the set it and forget it kind of guy. So I can run off, I can travel, and not have to worry too much about them. They do come in. A lot of people don't know though. They do have 3 settings to the Barnminers. They have a normal power mode and a low power mode, and then a high power mode. So they do their factory firmware has a couple adjustments that your amp miners don't have right off the bat.
Okay, well, that's pretty cool. So if you're running somewhere that's really hot, I guess you just whack them down a little bit.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. So you said you don't like tinkering, but I'm looking at your Substack at the moment. Did you build this barn yourself?
So we planned it. I didn't do all the work myself. We did a little bit here and there. So, we planned it, got it permitted, ordered the kit, ordered all the materials, but had a group that puts in those posts. Those posts are pretty dang big. So we hired somebody to put the frame together. They framed it for us, covered the roof and stuff. And then we kind of filled in the gaps, got some electricity with a little bit of help, and dug some trenches and put some of the metal on it. So it was kind of half and half.
It looks very cool. So the shed will get retired and the barn will be used for all the mining. Is that the kind of idea?
Yeah, the goal originally was just to build a barn, and then somehow it ended up turning into a loft up there with some miners. I'll tell you what really started it was about the same time we were planning the barn, I was looking into mining. And then I got caught up in one of those hosted companies, purchased some or pre-purchased some. Yeah. So it's kind of a good thing, though. I can't name it because of the NDA. You could guess which one it is.
Well, I got raped by one that everyone should know by now, which is Compass Mining, who completely fucked me over. It was an expensive mistake that I won't make again, but have to learn from it. For whatever reason you can't say, but maybe it's, maybe it's the same.
I can't confirm or deny who it was, but let's just say we had a mutual issue. But luckily, I got out of it. I took delivery of one. I basically, they were supposed to deliver on one. It was supposed to be up and set up. They didn't. So I called them. I took possession of it and then ended up canceling the rest of it. So I did. I was somewhat made whole. I lost my time, value, of money for a few months on the deposit, but it kind of slingshotted me into, well, why the hell am I not doing this at home? Obviously the rates weren't the same, but I soon figured out if I added more, I could get my rate down, and I got my rate down to a reasonable rate. And it dropped I was at 12 cents a kilowatt hour, and now I'm at 8. So
Very nice.
why not?
Yeah, and you can learn this expensive mistake, which is like just because the rate is cheaper with a hosted miner, you might not pay for it now, but you're going to pay. So
Yeah, one way or the other. Yeah.
yeah, one way or the other, nothing's free in this life, and if it seems too good to be true, it probably is, and you're better in control of it. So that's really cool that you've not been put off by it, and then you've gone and done this. What's it been like for you going from, oh, I can just leave it hosted and just walk away, to actually getting your hands dirty, getting involved, and building this out? Because it's quite a feat.
Yeah, it's been a huge learning experience. It's been great, though. I can't say that I did it all by myself because there's just so many resources available, through Telegram or Bitcoin Twitter that help me out, because you got so much stuff, going from just paying somebody a monthly fee to figuring out electricity and airflow, and figuring out what to do with your heat, and networking too is a whole new animal. None of this stuff I had any experience in. I could swap some electricity outlets around the house, but figuring out what goes where and how to set your panel up, it's been a huge, I don't know, I think I've had more education in the last 2 years than I've had in 5 or 10 years, to be honest. More than I learned in my attempt at college many years ago, that's for sure.
Well, it's always the way, like getting your hands dirty and having to work something out that is like mission critical and it's going to cost you money if you fuck it up, is a pretty good
Yeah.
way to learn quickly.
Yeah, it's been a journey though, but I think the coolest thing is that I've never been into social media before Bitcoin, and then once I got on there, it started getting interested in mining and reaching out to other people. There's just so many people available that would stop doing what they're doing to call you and help you figure out a problem or teach you something. So I just use that to my advantage, to help build. But I honestly couldn't have done it without half the people helping me on.
Well, we've got quite a few of them on the mining month, the plebs who are always there to help people, always have the good information, and it blows me away just how kind people are with their time. It's pretty amazing because you've got so many incredibly skilled people. They're already busy building out their own stuff, and a lot of people have fiat jobs on top, and then just to sit down at the end of a long day and be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to answer some questions. I'm going to help this other person out to mine, which, effectively some people in the fiat world would probably see as competition, but they don't. They're like, no, I'm going to help you. And it's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. You think about it, because, I'm like, I was outside walking. I was talking on the phone with somebody who offered to help me. And I'm like, man, this guy is my competition. I mean, he's not really, because he owns, 1,000 miners. But I'm like, this guy's like, stop. He gave me his cell phone number of all things, and then he's just talking through airflow with me because I'm trying to figure out how to cool things off. It's amazing. Yeah, it's no other field you would think, where people come together who compete against each other to help each other.
Do you think that just comes down to what I see anyway, is like a lot of the people who are mining, they're probably digging the deepest into Bitcoin. Like you have people who just go, oh, I've heard about this Bitcoin thing, I'm going to buy it. I hear it's going to go to 1 million or whatever they hear Michael Saylor tell them. And then they go, oh, I'll just sit on it. Whereas the miners that I speak to generally seem to be, they seem to have a deeper understanding of the implications of what this can do for the future of them and their families. And so they seem to be a bit of a different breed. Then I'm thinking, well, are they so helpful because they understand that it's not about me competing with everyone else? It's about making sure that this goes forward and that things decentralize.
Yeah, I would think that's an excellent statement. It's pretty accurate. I think the next logical step for me, after I started running a node, and I got a node in the box, and that was, I didn't learn anything. I plugged it in, and I learned something when it broke. as soon as it broke. Yeah, I had to figure out what was this thing doing. So after I had help from somebody else help me fix it. But after I dug in, I rebuilt it. I built a new one. I have 2 or 3 of them now. But the next logical step was mining. So just to dig deeper down the rabbit hole to figure this whole thing out. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing what you learn. Like, I'm not a particularly techie person, but, it gets to that stage where you're like, oh, I heard I'm a second-class citizen if I'm not running a node. Right, I better learn how to do that
Yep.
then. And then, like you said, that you learn, and then it's like, oh, well, one's not really enough because I want to try this new one, and now I want to have lightning, and now I want to have this, and so you're always digging into something and learning. And the amazing thing that I've found in this community is like when you have a problem and you reach out and people help you, you often end up then becoming really good friends, and it tends to go full circle. People will always help each other out, and it's like, oh yeah, you help me with this, I help you with that, and all the different skills end up converging. You just have this group where it feels to me often like if I just pick up my phone and I want to reach out to people on Bitcoin Twitter or people in Telegram, I'm pretty sure they could fix anything. There's not
Yep.
really anything where I think, my group of people that I can reach out to, my mates on here, there's something they can't fix. That just doesn't happen.
No, yeah, it's like I've got resources in the palm of my hand from around the world, basically because of this community. It's insane.
So what was the first things where you're setting this up and you had issues? Like, can you remember certain times where you were like, oh, fuck, I've bitten off more than I can chew here, or I've got a real issue? And can you remember who reached out and helped?
Yeah, I could remember. I think it was initially figuring out airflow, how to keep these things cool, because I live in the state of Florida, in Central Florida, so we're subtropical, right? So we have two things against us: it's hot as hell and it's humid as hell. So you've got this big metal barn sitting in the sun all day. So how am I going to keep these things cool? So airflow was the biggest concern of mine. So trying to figure out how do I keep this giant building cool. I reached out to, or actually somebody, I don't know, I think it was in the Mining Wizards Telegram group, and it was a guy that happened to have a large farm in South Florida. I was like, well, holy shit, here, this is the perfect guy right here. So he kind of helped me. He talked me into spray foaming the building, and then we talked about airflow and ended up putting the fan up at the top at the gable end, and then figuring out how much intake we needed down below. So that was the biggest challenge, is the airflow. I think the electrical, I had help with a professional. I had an electrician come in because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't want to fry anything or kill myself. One of the two.
Yeah, best to avoid that. And so with the airflow, when you're like having two fans and one for inflow, one for outflow, are you still then running the fans that are on the machines as well as the other ones, or are you disabling them or spoofing them and then just using the bigger fans instead?
No, yeah, for the airflow, it's basically I have a passive intake. I've just got an opening at the barn roll-up door. I have a 10 by 10 roll-up door, and I think it might be in the Substack. I think I've updated it. But basically, I had my neighbor build me a screen, like a screen enclosure, it's 10 foot by 2 foot, and then I threw some filter media to keep it cool. So that's the intake. And then the big fan in the gable end is about 4,800 CFM. So that pulls the air all the way through that opening and then shoots it out. So the miners still have their fans. So miners still do their job, keeping themselves cool. And then the building does its job by keeping the building cool. Just provides the environment for them.
Cool. And I'm assuming, being where you are, you don't have any use for this heat. Do you just let it go? There's no sort of use for it?
There is a use if you had a pool or a spa, but I don't. That's about the only thing. I could pump it back in. I do have plans, like Schnitzel does, to heat my water heater, but that's down the road. That's maybe after phase 2. Yeah, my options would be a pool heater, which you don't really need in summer. So you'd be kind of making a giant bathtub. You could use it in winter, though. It'd be helpful. And then to heat your home water. But we never use our heater in our home. Maybe, I don't know, twice a year we might turn it on. So yeah, those are the only two options, unless, I don't know, drying some beef jerky, something like that. That's an option.
I've seen people doing these kind of things. It does seem like maybe there's something a bit more, I don't know, more generally useful like that, like drying meat, or I was going to say like having a greenhouse, but you won't even need that, because if you had a greenhouse, it'd be ridiculous. You basically are living in a greenhouse anyway.
Yeah.
So that's not so useful. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing for like us Europeans, is we have to think, well, certainly where I am, like it gets pretty cold. You have to constantly think about heating, and heating's getting expensive. So this heat from the miners offsets some of the cost, and that's how we have to do it. Is there nothing for you where you've thought about maybe switching at some point to immersion, or is the setup working as you want it and there's no tweaking you sort of feel you need to do now?
I think immersion would be my next step, but I think I want to kind of master air first until I get into spending the money on the infrastructure for the immersion. I think it's a great tool. I'm not sold on spending all that cash on it. Maybe if I had a larger farm, I think I would. But I definitely I want to tinker with it. I want to try throw some of them in there. But the whole goal of the barn was to be a barn first, and then miners second. So right now I've got them up 10 feet high. They're out of my way. So if I start throwing immersion in there, and I got a bunch of crap in my garage that's not in the barn, it kind of defeats the purpose. I wouldn't mind having four or six down there. But the goal is to have a workshop as well. So for now, it's just air cooled.
And what sort of is the workshop just used for like general projects that you do for yourself, or is that like work stuff?
Yeah, just general house stuff. Basically, I do want to put just an area to get away. Our house is kind of tiny, and we have a 2-car garage. I like to park in the garage. The wife doesn't. She's got a truck, but just need some space to store stuff. Basically, we got 3 kids in a teeny home and running out of room. So
a bit of man space.
Yep. Some quiet space, but it's not so quiet anymore with those things making noise.
Noise cancelling headphones is what you need.
Yes, I think that eventually the goal is to finish that out. So I will directly underneath the ASICs, I'll have something built out, and I might do wall that in, put some insulation and try to quiet it down. Maybe air condition it if it works. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. It's always that balance, isn't it? Of like, what's the absolute perfect setup versus the costs? And like, is it worth the time and the money to do the immersion? Is it worth the time and the money, like putting in cooling systems and all this kind of stuff? Because I guess in a lot of ways, you could look at it the other way and just say, well, if I have the space and they're keeping cool enough as it is and they're still hashing away, well, wouldn't I be better just spending the money on more hash rate? And I guess that's always that trade-off of like efficiency versus just getting as much hash as you can online.
Yeah, I agree. I think what I'll do is I'll max it out, and then if power rates go up, hash rate goes up, then I'll need to rethink how do I become more efficient. That's probably that's the name of the game, right? Efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll build it up, and then once I hit that wall, I'll work on it.
So when you first started thinking about mining, what sort of led you to go down this route? Like, why was it mining? Was it straight into mining, or were you already stacking? Were you already into Bitcoin? Yeah, I'd be interested to sort of know how you got here.
Yeah, at first it started off just Bitcoin. I think I bought my first Bitcoin kind of right after the 17 crash when I had, of course, everybody has that friend that was buying it, in 2014, told you about it. I didn't look into it until later. And I started buying it, and I started getting into the shitcoin casino for a while and figured out just kind of, everybody goes through that journey of, I think almost everybody goes through the journey of shitcoining and then figuring out what most of them are scams and what the hell am I doing? And then kind of went Bitcoin only. Went Bitcoin only and got a node. And I think from after I got the node and ran the node is when it just seemed like the next logical step for the learning process. And it just took over from there.
So were you already kind of like into the self-sufficient stuff and libertarian ideals and, a lot of the stuff that goes along with a lot of Bitcoiners, certainly the ones on Twitter? Were you already thinking in this way and wondering if there was a way out of some of the crazy shit going on, or did you sort of just get slapped in the face by it once you'd got into Bitcoin?
I think my ideals were pretty much lined up with most of the guys I know in the space. Pretty independent. I was, it's interesting because the older you get, I feel like the less progressive you get. I don't know, for me anyway. Mm-hmm. I think it just I've had similar thoughts. I kind of was a gold bug before Bitcoin, and had read the creature to Jekyll, the creature of Jekyll Island well before Bitcoin. So I kind of had the knew the scam that the Fed was up to prior to Bitcoin. So it just fit perfect.
Yeah, I think there was quite a lot of people in that position where it's like, that there's games being played, that it's not right, but there's no real answer to it. And I guess gold is kind of the next best thing before Bitcoin, but you kind of know it's still being fucked with. And I guess a lot of people just searching. They search so long for it, you kind of think, oh, well, there's no other option. I just have to kind of accept it. And you know it, but there's not a lot you can do. And I feel like there's so much more people who are waiting to find something and they just haven't realized it's Bitcoin yet. There's so many people who are like, yeah, I just want to have control of my life. I don't trust what the government are doing. I know they're fucking with my money. Oh, I just don't know what to do about it. And they put it on the back burner. And it's hard to break through to them. But I just feel like there are hordes of people just waiting. And this is exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah, I would have to agree. But it's hard to cross that level. I think I run into people all the time that see the same thing, but they don't trust the network, or they don't trust. I guess you could, yeah, you have to put a lot of trust in the system if you're going to dump your money into it, and that's what worries a lot of people. I think that's what the hardest problem I have orange pilling people. I'm not a big orange piller, but if somebody asks, I'll teach.
Yeah, it's like refining the message to meet the person you're orange pilling. I always find is the way forward. I always found like early days I was running around like a dickhead, just like shouting at everyone, just going, yeah, this thing is going to kill off the governments. They're not going to be able to control us. Fuck the system. And everyone's like, we don't want that.
Yeah, you're a crazy son of a bitch.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't listen to Max.
Yeah, they're like the boomers who had the money. That sounds awful. We trust our government. We love our government. And so, for those people, you either refine the message and give them the sort of sales pitch on why they're going to be more wealthy, or what I've started to do now is leave them alone. I don't want them to have it. So I will now find people who I'm like, okay, are you freedom loving? Are you someone who I actually want beside me? Are you someone who I think is going to invest their sats in the future to make a better world? Are you someone I actually like? And then if they tick off all those boxes, I'll be like, okay, I'll speak to them about this. But for the most part, I'm just thinking, fuck it. I can't be bothered anymore.
Yeah, I think I'm the fuck it, I can't be bothered guy. I'm just not a good salesman, Max. So I just don't go. I'm not an evangelist. But if I'll throw that out there, and if you want to ask me about it, I'll teach you about it.
So do people?
There's a.
Go
ahead.
Yeah,
I was going to say we've got a local guy that I buy my meat from. He's not the rancher, but he's the guy that he's the butcher, right? So he gets the meat from everybody, and then he sells it to the community. They deliver it to you, right? So we've had the Bitcoin conversation a couple times, and he's just not there yet. But when he's there and he's ready, he knows he can come and talk to me. I'm not going to keep pushing him though, but I'm trying to pay him in Bitcoin. He's just not having it
yet. You've planted the seed.
Yes.
And when people come round, I assume you have some normies in your family and friends group. When they come round, do you show them the mining setup? Are they like, well, what is this? Or do they hear it and say like, what are you doing down there?
Yeah, they don't hear it, but I do show it. Like I ran into a buddy who I went to high school with, or hung out in high school with recently. And then we started talking about it. He's like, oh, can I come see it? So he came by to see it, and the seeds planted in his mind. He's like, wow, I can do this at home too. I'm like, yeah, man, I got one you can borrow, because I do an S9 loaner program for our
cool.
local Bitcoin meetup. So we do that just to kind of get people exposed and their hands dirty.
Yeah.
Because you can run those in your garage or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, he just came over last week. So he's asking for all kinds of information. I'm sending him links. So that was a cool story. Yeah, I family members, they're kind of like meh. They're not sold on it. But yeah, I've had a couple friends that I've showed, and they're starting the journey.
Yeah, it's the ideal way in as well. Like finding a friend who's wanting to plug in an S9 and actually learn about how this network works and understand it. That's the ideal way in now. Finding someone who can just say, all right, I'll have a play, and rather than just buying it and holding it and then calling you saying, the phone call is going to be very different. Like a normie who you onboard and they go and buy from an exchange, the phone call is either, oh, it's gone down in price, fucking said I shouldn't have bought this, oh God, why did you tell me to buy this? Or they're phoning you to tell you how clever they are. And so you only get one or the other, and they're both fucking annoying. Whereas if someone's borrowing a miner and they're setting it up or building a node and running that, or doing something where they're actually getting their hands dirty, then those phone calls are actually going to be fun, because you're like, now actually I have this knowledge and I can help someone, and they're actually interested in learning. And once you learn it, then you're going to be like, oh, this thing is amazing, right? This is why I want to keep my money here. It's a way, way better way in.
Yeah, it's all that other. That's the cool thing about it. All that other stuff comes after you build it. After you learn it. I think you learn by building. So I think it's a great entry versus buy and watch number go up. I really didn't stop looking at number go up until after I started mining. Now I just look at how many blocks did my pool get this day.
You came in, by the sounds of it, if you said after the 2017 peak, you came into a bear market. So
Yep.
You went through the pain, as did I, had exactly the same experience. And it's almost like, I don't know if it was the same for you, but I was trying to find out, was I a retard? Am I a fucking idiot who's just bought into some Ponzi or scam or nonsense? Like, what have I done here? And is it worth me staying around? So those next couple of years of bear market and just watching the price dump and dump and dump and dump and then little pump and then dump and dump and dump was probably what gave the conviction, because it's like you spend all that time learning, even though the price is going down, it gets to a point where you're like, no, I want to be accumulating here. Doing that for a few years and just seeing pain, I think then it means that when you have the volatility, like now, like the volatility, you see your wealth going down so dramatically. It's like, yeah, that's all right.
It definitely numbs you. I think anybody's got to go through a full cycle to get a good grasp on how it works. I kind of started buying as the knife was falling down, so I got half the pain, not all the pain, and seeing it go back up and down.
Yeah, it's still painful at the beginning. I remember
Absolutely.
waking up every morning and checking my little app that would tell me the price. And I had all the shit coins as well, like the most stupid stuff. And it was like, I just kept looking, just hoping, just praying, let one have gone through the roof. And then listening to fucking Tone Vase and some of these,
shitcoin
they're
podcasts,
yeah, and trading, and it's like, it's on a 9, so this is gonna now. And it wasted so much time learning that sort of stuff. It was absolutely ridiculous looking back, but you then sort of find, all right, where's the signal? And I never got into the mining. There was no one at that time really, or no one that I knew who was really talking about the mining side of it. Or if they did, it was always like, oh, you don't want to do that. You're best off just buying. Only the massive miners can make money. Don't even bother. And so I just kind of ignored it. But it feels like now there's this resurgence of people getting interested. You've got people like you who are documenting their experience, and so many other guys who are involved in this mining month are doing the same. And so it feels like it's becoming cool again and accessible again. How do you think that goes forward? Do you think this is a trend that will continue and accelerate?
I think so. I hope so. There's been people mining at home since the beginning, but I think that it has become more popular. Maybe not as much more, I guess more popular. It's been more widely published, I guess would be the word, because there's OGs that have been doing this forever. But I think now it's just, there's more people out there talking about it and sharing their experiences and teaching.
Yeah, because it seems, certainly for me, I remember it seeming it wasn't accessible. It wasn't like, I could go and find a good guide and, you buy this bit of hardware and you plug it in and this is how you set it up. And, I feel like now it seems like basically anyone can do this if they put their mind to it. Hardware's getting better. All of the software like Brains and all the different options out there are getting better. There's so many different ideas of what to do with the heat if you're going to do something with it. And all these communities just popping up all over the place. And so I'd like to think that we can get to a stage where the average person doesn't just say, right, I'm going to go straight and buy on an exchange. I'm going to actually learn like this. And I often wonder if there's going to be some way. I know it's kind of been attempted. There's a company which has made like a node and a miner, like a very, very low hash rate miner. I wonder if that will continue, where you have people who, you can buy something for a few $100s or $1,000, and that's your in, and you plug that thing in and you start earning and learning and using these tools. Do you think that that's something that will happen, or do you just think that it's going to be the big ASICs and that sort of thing just doesn't really make sense?
Yeah, I like that little node. That little node miner is a cool novelty. I think it's a good step forward. I think it's what we're going to see in the future. But I think what these guys are doing, like with these water heaters, I think you're going to start seeing a little bit more commercial slash residential applications come online.
Mm-hmm.
Like heating greenhouses with mining. It's gonna incorporate into a lot of different lives. Heating your floors. I think the heating application is just huge. I think that's just going to be a technology that takes off in the future. Like all these experiments we're seeing with everybody, putting heat in their hot tubs and pools. I think at some point soon that's going to be a commercial application. You're going to be able to buy a house or put in that water heater that has that miner. Yeah, you're going to spend 10 grand on that water heater, but you know what? It's going to pay for itself and then some. I think that's coming soon, no doubt.
I agree. I mean, I was chatting to Michael Schmidt the other day about this, and what really brought it home for me was he was saying, well, it doesn't matter if you've got a dumb heater or if you've got a miner. If it's running on electric, the amount of wattage that goes through it is the amount of heat. He was like, it's just physics. It doesn't make any difference. And when he sort of drilled that point home, I was thinking, well, there is no logical reason that all of these heaters that are running on electric wouldn't also be mining, because you're already using the power.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you get something back? So I think you're right. I think as we see this progress, it just gets to a stage where it's like, you'd be a fucking idiot not to use one of these and to use just a dumb heater if you're using electric and not gas. There's no good reason going forward.
Yeah, that thought crossed my mind when I was swapping out my water heater element broke, and I had to go shop for a new water heating element. And 4,000 watts is the rating on that heating element. And guess what runs just under 4,000 watts? I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm putting in a useless piece of metal when I could be putting in a miner.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you can think, oh, well, people who have already got stuff that's built and it's already their home set up, okay, that's fine, you've already done it. But when you're talking about new builds, if we push this forward like a couple of years, if anyone is doing a new build and they are not putting this in, they're buying something that doesn't produce Bitcoin, that uses the same amount of energy and produces the same amount of heat, is just dumb.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I think you're at a huge advantage if you're a home builder and a Bitcoiner right now. So you can incorporate that. If you're building a new house or you've got your property where you're building, man, it's an empty pallet. You can capture as much heat as possible. There's no reason not to.
It's crazy. What are the things that are exciting you at the moment? You're obviously deeply involved in this and documenting it and spending a time with a lot of these other crazy mining plebs. Like, what do you see at the moment where you're getting particularly excited about it?
I think I'm excited just about, first of all, this month is great. I think what John's put together is an incredible opportunity for us to collaborate together and to teach and to provide more resources for more people to do it. I really enjoyed being active in the Telegram groups and helping people. So I've started I've had some friends that know that I'm mining. My accountant knows that I'm mining. I set up a business just for the mining to take advantage of our horrible tax system, right? So he's got I got him mining now. I got my accountant mining. He's got more hash rate than I do now. And I'm actually
I love it.
I swear to you, he's got a petahash. he's got me beat, and he hasn't even been in as long. But originally we were gonna. So this guy, my accountant, he had a GPU miner, and he knew what I was doing, and he's helped me set up my corporation for my home mining. And he's like, well, I want to do this. I've got real estate all over. Can we do a build at one of my properties? And I was like, sure. So we looked at it, and then the electricity rates didn't make sense for him. But I've had over this time period when I started mining, met some larger miners and started to visit some other facilities, locally owned and operated, not large corporations. And we ended up setting him up at one of my friend's farms. So now he's hashing. So I'm meeting another guy today actually to talk about. He's got an office building, and he's got an outdoor. He's got two-story office building. He's got an outdoor patio, like a balcony. So we're getting ready to put, and he's got extra capacity for electricity. He's got the space. He doesn't. We can deal with the sound and the heat, and we're going to put in a petahash on the second floor of his office building. So that's kind of the new stuff as I've been drawn into lately. So I've been trying to distribute hash at small businesses. That's kind of been my new go-to thing now. It's my new hobby.
Do you ever see this hobby becoming full-time work, or?
Absolutely. If there's enough demand for it, yeah, I would love to.
It seems like there's certainly going to be enough demand going forward. That's the thing, is like being positioned as you are, being as early as you are, and having the experience that you've got. It's like these things, I kind of think it just comes naturally. Like at some point, your accountant's going to speak to someone and they say, "Oh yeah, Barnminer helped me set it up," and then someone else is going to do the same, and eventually your phone will just start ringing, and people will say, "I'm building a hotel. I need to do such and such. Can you help?" And you can say, "Yes, you can pay me in sats. Thank you very much."
Yeah, absolutely. Sets only. Yeah, this office, I'm excited about it. So I've been talking to the guy for 6 months probably, and I'm going over there this afternoon. So it's interesting because I had two Bitcoin things going on today. So I had to talk with you, and then a meeting with the office owner. What's interesting about him, I'm in real estate. I've been in real estate for almost 20 years, and he's in real estate as well. So I know warehouse owners and landlords. If you've got that extra space, that piece of warehouse that's not being used, but you got capacity, it's kind of win-win. So we're getting ready to do, when I'm talking to him, he does investor meetups. So we're going to do a presentation at his investor meetups on mining. So that's what we're going to talk about today, actually.
Nice.
So it's exciting. Yeah.
It might be perfect timing for some of these property investors with the way things are looking out there. Maybe this is a way forward where they can kind of cover themselves a little bit. I don't know if it's the same in the US, but also was heavily involved in property here for the last sort of 15, 20 years. And I've scaled out of it because I just see there's massive tail risk.
Yep.
But what I've seen around me is like a lot of the more boomery types who took all their retirement money, they've bought loads of buy-to-lets, they're absolutely mortgaged up to the hill. They've got every loan possible going. And what I see looming would just absolutely wipe them out. They've got no cushion, they've got no padding. And if people stop paying, they are fucked. Like absolutely fucked. Whereas in America, if you've got low power rates, if your tenants aren't paying and you've still got mortgages to pay, well, this could at least help.
Yeah, it could hold you over. Yeah, it could hold you through the downturn. Because we're reaching that peak right of the cycle of the real estate cycle. So absolutely, just so the accountant is a big real estate owner. So I see a lot. The real estate owners kind of get it. I think. I mean, yeah, a lot of them are leveraged to the hill, but they see this as an alternative investment to them. And now they're not looking at it in sats; they're looking at it in dollars. But still, you're getting there. They'll along the way they'll learn and figure that out.
I think it makes sense to them as well because most of the property people that I would speak to would be thinking in decades, not years, generally. So they've already got that low time preference. Like anyone who knows anything about property is like, you just need to stay on the log. You can't be fucking around and fall off. You have to be looking at this, minimum 10 years. And if you've got to wait it out. That's one thing. And then the other thing is they're looking at the yields on things and everything that they're calculating is, well, okay, what can I have flowing in? And then what is the cost of actually putting down money for this property? And so I think their view is very different to people who mess around with the stock market or people who are like general business owners. It feels like property to me. It's like you're buying
It
units
does.
that
Yep.
produce you a certain amount of money. Then you've got the appreciation of those assets over time. And like the same kind of happens with miners if you time things right. And obviously then you've got your sats. I think you'll probably do really well with that. I think it's like the perfect audience for it.
Yeah, it really is. They have a long-term time preference. So when they're looking at cash flows, they're looking at 5, 10 year cash flows. So it kind of fits their mentality. Absolutely.
And so then that spreads out and you get a load more pleb miners. And that's the thing that, like, for me, this month is really about trying to find anyone who can plug in, whether it's one machine or 100 or 1,000, but people who are like individuals, not corporations. And that's really where it starts to excite me, is that like there's so many people who are in this position, and especially with what's going to happen with property. And there are so many people who have had businesses shut down, and there are so many people who need to have something coming in. And a lot of these people also can write off the cost of their electric. I'm pretty sure it would be the same in America as it is here. So it's
Absolutely.
like you have people who have units that they're not renting, and they can write off the cost of their energy. It is like
Yeah,
the
and you can
biggest
write off the
no-brainer.
cost. Yep, your hardware is deduct. You can deduct that cost as well, and then you depreciate it. So it's like there's a lot of advantages if you say you have a mini warehouse and you got this shitty suite in the middle and nobody wants to rent it out. Well, guess what? Throw some. You got 200 amps in there. You got 3-phase electric. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it just makes so much sense, doesn't it? And that's the thing, is like if the government start coming after people, and these big mining warehouses are the first people they'll go for, they will all bend
Yeah,
the knee.
they'll be the first targets. Yep, they will.
Yeah.
They want to start censoring transactions or whatever. They're going after the big boys. But if there's thousands of them spread around the world in little warehouses and people's homes, you can't hit them all.
Yeah, well, I think, even if they made it their number one priority, and they think, okay, we're going to go after anyone who's putting it on their tax returns, anyone who's put their head up and we know of, we're going to go for. It's like it starts to reach, well, firstly, they won't find the people who haven't told them, the people who are properly off grid, they're not going to find them. But if they start going over after thousands of property owners and people with businesses and people who are supposedly upstanding members of society, they're going after all these people. You would like to think that people are going to turn around and go, hang on a minute, what the fuck is this witch hunt and why are you doing it? And you'd like to think that the narrative then would change, and it's not, oh, Bitcoiners are bad. It's like Bitcoiners are just normal people trying to survive through all the bullshit that the government have created, and now they're trying to go after them for that as well. Fuck them.
Yeah, you've got normal voting people. If it's spread across the globe with just normal Joe Schmo investor guy, you're right. Everybody's a target at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
So what the hell's going on? Oh, they're attacking all these people.
Yeah. And so for the rest of the month, we, as you know, like through the Telegram group, we're going to be doing bite-sized Bitcoins, like little short, sharp clips to explain things to people. And we're going to have people reaching out for questions and people who want some help setting up and all this kind of stuff. Is there anyone specific that you'd like to hear from, or anything that you think like, okay, that's the sort of thing I want to handle, these kind of questions?
I like stupid questions. I like people that ask questions that they think are stupid, but they're not. People sometimes get afraid of dumb questions, but I'll take anything. It's I got to give it to you though, Max, because these bite-sized bits. I think I told you this, but I'm trying to incorporate some with my kids. So I got 3 kids, and I've invited all of them to help me do a couple of these things. And just to do a 5-minute bit with my daughter has taken hours, just to go through and record it without laughing at each other, and it's been interesting trying to get her to do the research to figure out simple questions that were simple to me, obviously, but not her. But I think getting the kids involved has been a fun part. But But specifically, any question's good. No question's too stupid. So I think the more questions, the better. I just enjoy helping people solve problems.
Have the kids enjoyed getting involved? Are they sort of learning a little bit?
They are a little bit, but I don't know. When you're a kid, the stuff your parents do aren't that cool. So, but I think they're kind of coming around. I've got my son helping me swap some parts now, which is cool because we can do something together. But my youngest daughter, I think all of them have played a small role in setting up some miners, either plugging them in or pulling them up on the computer and checking on them. But they're slowly getting into it. But it's not as cool to them because their dad does it. So.
Yeah.
One day they'll figure it out when they're older, though.
Yeah, when they're fixing hardware and they're getting paid their pocket money straight into their wallets, then I guess that's maybe where it becomes interesting. Like, I can't tell you how excited I was, like, back in the day, if I could go and, like, wash a car for, like, 20p. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a millionaire. And you get, like, all excited and you're counting all your money and everything. But, when you've got Lightning wallets and as this thing becomes more and more useful, I think kids are going to get into it just from that because it's going to have more applications for them. Like it's going to be something where they can go, okay, I can go and do this bit of work. It's like proof of work. I can go and do this bit of work and then I get these sats and then I can use it in this game or to do this or to do that. And, the kids are the future here. The kids are the ones who are going to push this forward. So I love to see this involvement. I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I think the value for value stuff like the Fountain podcast, is pretty interesting, and I think that'll be something cool for kids to see. Some sats streaming in for something they do or contribute to. I think that's going to be a kicker for them once they start seeing. I can contribute to this and see some sats rolling in. Not necessarily a podcast, but something they're contributing to.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, like, every day I get excited by Fountain. It's not about the number. It's just like you're saying, someone's just sent me a message or someone's listening and I can see that streaming in. And that it's like a connection where I'm like, this person's listening and they're sending me value. Just that feeling of, they actually value what you're doing here is really, really like, it's a special thing. It gives you a connection you wouldn't otherwise have. I think, as you see that, like you say, it's not just for podcasts. It could be that you've written an article and every time someone reads a few sats are sent, or you're answering a question in a room and someone tips you a few sats for your time, whatever it is. It's just like, it's not about the value. It's like, okay, it might be 50 sats. Okay, well, what does that really mean? Well, it's just like a token of appreciation, and it feels good. I think it's really, really nice.
I think it gives you a connection that you never had before, which I think is one of the more important parts. Like you said, it's not about the sats, that connection between you and whoever else you're helping out.
Yeah. When we release this month, because we're recording this ahead of time, but any sats that come through Fountain for any show are all going to be going back to listeners. So I won't be taking any of them. They'll be going towards like prizes and merch and whatever else. And it just gives an opportunity to be able to do stuff like that. It means that we can pay that forward, and that's really cool.
That's great. Yeah, maybe I can find an S9 to give away. That'd be sweet.
Ooh, that would be very, very cool. I'm sure there are people listening now who would be very excited about a giveaway like that. Get someone to dip their toe in. And as you know, this is very addictive, and suddenly they'll be buying 10.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. It started with an S9 and then now I'm shooting for 20. 20 big boys.
Do you think you'll reach a limit, or do you think that this addiction will grow and grow? And do you think there's ever a point where you'll go, I have enough hash?
No, I don't think so. I think my goal is, once the barn's full, is to move to a larger building. That's the plan anyway. I've met these guys that have these 1 to 2 megawatt farms. I'm like, man, this is where it's at. This is what I need. It just motivates me more.
Yeah, that would be I'd love that. Like, imagine just walking into something like that, and then you just hear that noise, and you just breathe it in and think, this is my hash. These sats are streaming to me now. That must be such a cool feeling.
It's got to be. Yeah, just visiting there is amazing. It's awe-inspiring.
Well, for everyone listening, you might not be mining yet. You might be winning an S9. at the end of the day, you can find a way to get to that sort of position. It just takes time and a bit of effort, but you've got the people around you now. So Barnminer and everyone else that I'll be interviewing and everyone who will be in these groups, they're there to help. So don't be afraid to reach out. Reach out to me as well. There's not a lot I can answer on the mining side, but I help where I can. And Barnminer, thank you so much for joining me and getting involved with this and documenting things. It's been really, really good.
Yeah, it's been fun. I look forward to it. So yeah, feel free to reach out. Anybody that has a question, no question too stupid.
Cheers then, mate. We'll speak soon.
All right, man. Good talk.
Thanks for listening, and thank you so much to everyone who's been streaming sats on the Podcasting 2.0 apps and leaving boosts and messages. It's really awesome to see, and all of those sats are going to go towards posting these incredible prizes out. Make sure to check out ungovernablemisfits.com, and we have an entire section on the Pleb Miner month. It includes the articles, the pods, and the giveaways. Catch you on the next one.